There's really one major reasons why I think Runaways works. It lets teenagers be ugly. The art is fantastic. The art shows the characters, they portrays them as kind of awkward looking, they look weird. There's a lot of shots that are very unglamorous, either like too close to the character's face, or it just takes them from the weirdest angle where you can see their mouths or something. The art style captures what it feels like to be a teenager perfectly, and the writing is doing the same, as it allows these characters to make a lot of mistakes, do a lot of stupid things, but it never really seems to talk down to them. It feels like, oh, it's like somebody who remembers what it's like to be going through this, so it doesn't feel like mean. It feels like, oh, I know that. Really feels like an authentic take on teenagers in a way that is just a lot of media struggles to match. Marvel's Runaways is a bit of a funny group. I don't see much of talk about this group in general. Like, it's like they get mentioned from time to time, and in recent years they did get a TV show, and specifically Nico Minoru has made appearances in other comics and other media like Midnight Suns, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. She gets around. It's a group that seems to have a dedicated fan base that do bring them up. It's like, you go to a Marvel Rivals thread, somebody will say that they would love to see Nico, and it's like, there's like one guy always there. It's like, so they have a dedicated fan base, they do make appearances, but at the same time they are a minor group, definitely. So I got curious, went back and read their original run, volume 1 from 2003 by Brian K. Vaughan and Adrian Alfona. And I really want to talk about it because there's something about it that really, like, I can't stop thinking about after reading it. Okay, so as a basic, what even is Runaways? Runaways centers around a group of teenagers who are kind of forced to hang out because their parents are friends. These kids range from like 13 years old to 17 years old. They don't all really fit together. During this hangout session, the kids manage to find a secret passageway in the house, and they investigate it, and they come across their parents, who in this secret room under lair are dressed up in some cult-looking gear, tying up some other teenager, and they gut her in a bloody child sacrifice dedicated to their new world. So the kids run away, and they get themselves a pet dinosaur, and they gotta figure out what to do about their supervillain parents who start hunting them down. Runaways is a coming-of-age story, and just like most stories aimed at teenagers, it matters when you read this story. I read Runaways in my 20s with a fully developed brain. It reads different to me than it would if I was like 15, still struggling with basics of being a human being. I would love to hear from you in the comments when you read this, and especially if you were younger. How does it read when you're younger? Because I'd imagine it would be a very different experience. Runaways is an ensemble story, so there should be a character for anybody to see themselves in. Alex is our first viewpoint. He is smart. That's kind of his thing. He's a big nerd. Then there's Nico, who gets the powers of a witch. When she bleeds, she can call upon the staff of one. She can do magic. If I was Alex, I would be a little mad, not gonna lie. Nico is impulsive, quick to take action, and often, stupid action, and she's super angsty in general. She's kind of a goth girl. Then there's Chase. He is the fool of the group, but, he's kind of able to build himself these gauntlets that come with flamethrowers. Very cool. Then there's Caroline, who turns into a rainbow-colored light show. A very subtle metaphor. She can shoot rainbow beams and fly, so she calls herself Lucy in the Sky. Then there's Gertrude. She also doesn't get powers, but she does get a pet dinosaur that she can command at will, so I don't know, sucks to be you, Alex. And then there's Molly, an 11-year-old with super strength. Very scary. A lot of teen media focuses on these grander stories, these beautiful people doing grand things. They are power fantasies, what teenagers want to look like. And this is fine. If you have a TV show, they hire like a 25-year-old hot dude to play the 15-year-old. It's a little weird. Fine, I guess. It's a fantasy for kids to relate to see themselves as what they want to be. But this is how I felt like as a teenager. It's not how I wish I was. It is how I was. Awkward and weird, uncomfortable with my own body. I feel like it's a weirdly rare thing to come across media that represents teenagers as how they're supposed to be. It is something that I fell in love with Spider-Man. And then there is Runaways. Ugly shots of the characters, and I really appreciate it. I really love how awkward and ugly Runaways is. It's good for humor, and it's good for the characters, which is very interesting to me, just reading through Spider-Man and then jumping into this being like, wait a minute, this is the same thing. It's very fascinating. Runaways is an interesting experience, as it even goes into a lot of times the things that a lot of teenage media especially ignores. Like there's a character, Molly, who is like, I don't know, she's like 13 or something, and she's starting to hit puberty, so she wants, during the series, wants to have a girl talk with the girls, basically asking about what's going on, because she's been bleeding recently, and it's like, okay, that is like something that usually wouldn't even get mentioned, and it's here. Now, Runaways is also really funny because it's subverted, as it is not, has nothing to do with puberty. It is her X gene kicking in. She actually has superpowers, and the bleeding she was talking about was nosebleed. bleeding. That is really cute, you know, like her discovering her inner power. It's really cute. The series is filled with a lot of teenage stuff, a lot of confused relationships, first romances, and arguing and angst and fighting your parents. It's relatable. Too relatable. I could imagine someone not liking it just because it's a little cringe. I remember that. The series dialogue is written in the kind of good old relatable teenage dialogue, so a lot of pop culture references and back and forth quips. This was before, you know, this style was overdone. This was like 2000, so, you know, how much you like it, up to you. I'm past the point of caring for this stuff, you know, I'm kind of tired of it, but I can't hold it against it, you know. The series is genuinely fun, although it is worth making the distinction clear. The series is genuinely funny. It just got bad luck of being very 2000s at the times, although that is very common with teenage media. The more authentic it is, the more poorly it dates. I do really love watching this gang interact with each other. They bounce off each other well, and they just feels very accurate. This kid is trying to get into the gang's inner circles, and he's just walking around lying to everybody, and it's super obvious, you know, that this guy is super questionable. At least to an adult, that this guy's a massive problem. I genuinely was ready to scream reading the book. I don't know, is it as obvious to a teenage reader? But man, his presence actually made me mad. In a good way. It's meant to be bad, but God, how do these kids not pick up on this guy? Early on, the series tries to write the kids as very immature, like as immature as possible, as like kind of obnoxious as possible. So their introduction is like very kind of unlikable, honestly, to the point that it loops back around being funny. At least to me, but then again, I could see Gertrude crying, "I don't want to go." That's a massive turnoff. The dad uses the word sophomore wrong, so she corrects him like a little know-it-all. It's character flaws, and I you know, that need to be smarter than everybody else, you know, I recognize it. I hate it, but I recognize it. The kids are allowed to be naive and entitled and awkward, and then you watch them grow and become more mature throughout the series and more confident, and, you know, by the end, you really do like these kids. They become better for it. The series is able to catch teenage identity really well. Like, one of my favorite cases of this is Chase. His parents are super geniuses, so Chase turns into a jock as kind of an act of rebellion to his parents. Their first scene, Chase's dad hits him. Like, what an introduction. Chase acts like a fool, but like the thing that separates, I think, Runaways from some other media I've seen over the years is that Chase is not written to be stupid. He figures out how these super gloves work, he finds a hideout for the gang, he can hotwire cars, and he's the first one to call this guy out for being suspicious. He is intelligent. He's not a dumb guy with a, you know, brain drooling out of his ears. I think he intentionally wants to be seen as a little dumb. Chase chooses to hide his intelligence behind tomfoolery, and, you know, that little difference where you don't look down upon him is what makes him believable, and I just love that take. There are different kinds of intelligence, and Chase is a great example of that. My favorite two issues are probably a crossover with Cloak and Dagger. My beloved Cloak and Dagger were once Runaways themselves. They still kind of are, in a sense. They encourage the gang and help them by relating to them. It's nice, and it gets good use of the two, although Cloak and Dagger could easily end this story, so they're just kind of forced out of the book with contrived reasons, so Runaways can solve their own problems, which I don't hate it, but it makes the crossover nature very obvious and a little jarring. Like, yeah, you know, it's like, I still love Cloak and Dagger, so I'm always good for more of them. Although, if you don't love Cloak and Dagger, I wonder how they come across. The art style is very stylized, very 2000s looking thing. It's highly expressive, and it's quite cute looking. One of the most notable things about the book is this character designs. All the teenagers looking different and come in large variety of styles and shapes. You get an Asian goth girl, overweight with a stylized hair. Chase is athletic, while Alex is a black nerd. Even the ages, with the youngest being like 11 and the oldest like 17 or something. Variety makes the group feel more real. We all look different, especially as teenagers. Anyone can find themselves in this group, at least to a degree, and I think that's where the book really shines. The book captures the awkwardness of being a teenager really well, better than a lot of other comic books, and while the writing is good, I would credit a lot of the success of this book to the art specifically. It is awkward, a little ugly, a little cute, and varied enough to capture the teenage world. The art really sells the personality. They are unflattering. Sometimes there is a picture doing the wrong movement, so the characters' faces look awkward, and I just love it. It's fantastic. The story focuses on that awkward side of growing up, so all the relationships are a little messy, and the characters are jumping around between romantic relationships. So often they don't even really count as romantic thoughts. It's more like romantic ideation, and it rarely works out. I'm so glad I'm not a teenager anymore. That sucked. And then one of the things also that I give it credit for, it's like it has the usual, because it is about teenage rebellion. You know, it's like the bad guys are all adults because, you know, adults versus kids. You know, you gotta have that there, but there is a flashback to the parents when they decide to have kids. The Minoru have the cutest little reaction, and I don't know, I want to share it. It's so adorable. It does a lot to humanize the evil adults, and I really appreciate that. I don't really have much to say about Runaways, really. I just really wanted to appreciate the fact that it lets teenagers be ugly.